almost didn't do an MBA, and it wasn't because of money, grades, or admissions. It was because I wasn't sure I should go ahead with it. The decision to do an MBA wasn't difficult because I lacked information, but it was difficult because I didn't want to do it for the wrong reasons. Most people assume that if you decide to do an MBA, it was a decision you made easily. It was only a problem of finding the right school or getting admission into the school of your dreams. But I beg to differ. There's a whole lot more that goes into the decision-making process than just finding the right school or getting the right GRE or GMAT grades. It goes beyond all of that, but the actual reason why you're deciding to do an MBA and making that decision for the right reasons and not the wrong one. Hi, my name is Jokutola and this is Beyond the Brochure. Every week I'll take you through my reflections, my experience, and everything that I have learned over the past 18 months that I have been in the MBA program. I want to talk to you about my honest opinion about business school, not the cute experiences that everyone has there, not the brochure that the schools have there, with the employment records of graduates and every fancy word that prospective students want to hear, but actual lived experiences. For reference, I'm currently a second-year MBA candidate at the University of Toronto's business school, which is called Rotman School of Management. Yeah, I'm wearing the shirt today. Totally on brand. But I'm going to be taking you through my lived experiences. Let me talk about deciding to do the MBA. The first time I thought about doing an MBA was in 2020. I know. Everybody was thinking of doing something interesting, something different from what they were doing prior to COVID. And in that moment, I thought, perhaps an MBA would be a good thing to do. At the time, it felt like a logical next step, something that people like me did, something that signaled growth. It was 2 years after I had graduated from undergrad, and I thought, in planning for my future, an MBA should be one of the next steps I would take towards reaching the career level that I want to reach, going up the career ladder. But what is interesting is after the initial decision, I changed my mind not to do the MBA again. And then I changed my mind again to do the MBA. Well, I'm here now. So you know that I finally, after how many iterations, decided to go ahead to do the MBA. This was a decision that took years. My first decision to do an MBA was in 2020, and I did not start the program I'm currently in until 2024. Even after I had gotten admission, I still deferred my admission for a year, just to show you that I wasn't sure that this was the next step in my career to take. The main question on my mind was always, why now? So in 2020, why did I want to do it then? And in 2024, when I finally decided to come do it, why was it important at that point to make the decision? The internal battle for me was around making the decision of, do I want to stay back and continue working? Because my career was on a good trajectory. I was doing fine where I was working. For reference, I was working in a management consulting firm and I was doing finance there, and I was steadily growing in my career. In thinking about the why now, I was thinking, why did I have to decide to do something that was going to not necessarily alter the course of my career, but make me pause from the workforce for a year or about 2 years, depending on the MBA program I decided to take. Deciding to do an MBA for me was a very big decision because it costs money, it costs time, it costs energy. It takes you away from the reality of the workforce into an educational bubble. It forces you to put a version of life that you know and are very familiar with on pause to chase something else. And most times, you're not doing an MBA in your home country. You're probably flying to another continent to do the MBA. It wasn't something I had done for school before, so I had to make that decision wisely. I knew that I wanted change, but I also thought people would say, the MBA opens you to more opportunities. But a quiet fear in my mind was, I'm looking for change, I'm seeking change. But what if nothing changes? What if I spend all of this money? What if I do all of these things, fly across the globe, undertake a program for 2 years and nothing changes? What if I have to apply for the same job that I left 2 years ago? People say that MBA opens doors for you, but there's no guarantee. They do not specify what doors it opens for you. Perhaps it's just the door to have a conversation with someone that doesn't lead to a job, or it's a door that leads you to billions of dollars. No one ever guarantees what kind of doors it would open to you. And I and somebody else can do exactly the same things but have different outcomes. I was concerned about making the right decision at the right time. And trust me, the uncertainty was heavy. Just before coming for the MBA program, I had about 5 years experience in finance and accounting, and genuinely I am grateful for that foundation, always would be, but I knew that I wanted more. Not necessarily more money, not necessarily more title. I knew that I wanted more range. I knew that there was more to professional work than the work I was doing personally. I wanted more exposure. I wanted more understanding of how businesses actually ran, how businesses actually thrive to be million, billion, trillion dollar companies. So it wasn't a case of I wanted to leave my position because I was tired of it. I just wanted to expand beyond it, because truthfully, anywhere that I go after my MBA, I would still use that experience. Whether I go into a strategy role or an engineering role, I don't think I would get into engineering. But whatever place I would go, I'm sure that there are still skills and knowledge from my finance experience that would be useful going into these new spaces. I'm not going to lie to you that I didn't consider different things. I considered changing my job. I considered going for another program that wasn't an MBA, maybe a master's in finance, or actually, I was thinking about forensic accounting because I've always had an interest in forensics, and I was doing accounting, so it just made sense to, put forensic and accounting together. Forensic accounting. I thought about different things. I even thought about switching roles in my organization, but I also knew that I wanted more, and I didn't want to fit into what I thought was familiar. I wanted to push myself to finally make the decision about coming for the MBA, because I know you would want to know, oh, Jokotola, how did you finally make the decision? I stopped thinking about the MBA or anything else that I wanted to do as a reset. I stopped thinking about it in terms of guarantee. What is guaranteed for me after this program is done? I started thinking about it as what I wanted to do, how I wanted to stretch myself, and in thinking about the languages I wanted to learn, the language of business, the language of strategy, the language of broader finance, it was obvious that the MBA was what would help me to achieve this. I also want to say this. I am only now sharing this after being in the MBA program for about 18 months. So I went through the pre-application process to the application process to doing first year, to completing first year, to completing the first half of second year. And now I am willing to share all of this with you. I didn't want to come from a place of anticipation, but from a place of experience. Trust me, there are wins, there are pressures, there are sleepless nights. There are times I cried. There are times I was so happy. There have been moments during this process that I would definitely be sharing with you as time goes on. And I finally feel like I have enough perspective to share from a place of honesty, not encouraging anyone to particularly do an MBA, and also not discouraging anyone from doing it, just sharing my own personal lived experiences. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this. If you're currently considering an MBA, are you considering it because you want change or because you're running away from making another decision? And if you're currently doing an MBA, how's that going for you? Are you happy with the decision you made? And if you're just here watching the video because you want to be informed about 1,000,001 things in life and an MBA is part of it, well, thank you for watching. I will see you next week, where I break down the illusions and the myths of being in an MBA program, what I expected versus what I got, what people told me about and what they didn't tell me about. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is going to be an MBA Mondays series, and it is called Beyond the Brochure, telling you and taking you through everything beyond what the schools tell you and sharing from my lived experiences and also the experiences of others. See you next week. Bye.